Fun Ideas Productions presents the Fun Ideas Podcast.
This is the Slow Poisoner. I come to you from the future with these words of warning.
It's a hot horror planet. 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 Living in science fiction. Past the point of no returning. We got high on gasoline. And we blew the scene.
Hi, this is Mark Arnold, and welcome to Fun Ideas Podcast number 98. This episode is sponsored by the fine folks at Lee's Comics.
Hi, I'm George Takei. You know me as Helmsman Sulu on Star Trek. When I'm not busy going Warp Factor 8, I like to beam down to Lee's Comics and spend a lazy afternoon reading comics classics from Marvel to DC, from Dark Horse to Fantagraphics, and everything in between. So please, spend some time here at Lee's Comics and spend your hard-earned cash.
Lee's Comics eBay store is still going strong with over 10,000 vintage comics, the majority of which are now on sale. For half off, choose from Lee's huge stock of golden, silver, bronze, and modern age comics, and specializing in Silver Age Marvel titles. You can count on friendly service, accurate grading, and quick, secure shipping backed by a money-back guarantee. To check out Lee's eBay store, go to eBay. Click Advanced Search to the left of the search bar. Scroll down to Sellers and enter Lee's Comics Inc. Period. That's LeesComics period. Don't forget the period. Lee's Comics is shipping daily with no delays. New items daily. Mention the Fun Ideas Podcast and get a free bonus gift.
Long title, Looking for the Good Times, Examining the Monkey Song One by One, by Michael A. Ventrella and Mark Arnold. A book that examines each song, gives lots of details about each song, and our own personal opinions. You can find this book on Amazon, Barnes & Nobles, and anywhere where good books are being sold. Our webpage is wordpress.monkeys.com, where you can see many of the songs and give your own opinions of them. And we will be discussing this more on Zilch.
Hey Michael, it says here we've written another book about the monkeys. Wasn't the first one enough?
Not at all, Mark. Our original book, Looking for the Good Times, Examining the Monkey Songs One by One, was very successful, but only covered half the story.
Which half?
The group half. Our new book, Headquartered, A Timeline of the Monkeys' Solo Years, covers the solo half.
Who knew the monkeys record so many solo albums?
Not only that, but this book covers all of their solo projects, including stage shows, horse racing, running record labels, directing and starring in TV shows and movies, voice acting, and jail.
Jail? Did the monkeys go to jail?
You have to read the book to find out.
You've sold me. Have you sold them?
Who's them?
Those people out there listening to this.
Well, listen to this. This book has discographies, photos, and other information about the Prefab Four, Mickey, Davey, Peter, and Mike, the Solo Monkeys, plus another nifty cover by Scott Shaw.
Wow, he did our last cover. And this one's equally good. Where can you get this masterpiece?
Announcer.
Announcer? That's me. Get Headquartered, a timeline of the monkey solo years, written by Michael A. Ventrella and Mark Arnold. Those two guys. It's available in hardback, paperback, or ebook from BearManorMedia.com or from Amazon. Get your copies today.
Cool. I'm going to get one today. No news about my various book projects. Just please take the time to purchase my books on Harvey Comics, The Beatles, The Chipmunks, The Monkees, Disney, Pink Panther, Underdog, Jack Davis, John Severin, Cracked Magazine, and Dennis the Menace. They make great gifts. All are available on Amazon. Most are available through Bear Manor Media, and most are in hardback, paperback, and ebook. Today's guest reviews the various Disney comic books now being published by IDW, plus other things Disney and animation. Here he is, Mathieu Leblanc.
All right, we are here on Fun Ideas Podcast number 98. Woo, almost number 100. We have with us today, our special guest is Mathieu Leblanc. How are you?
I'm good.
All right. And today you're on here primarily to talk about Disney comics, but like I said before we started recording, I'm open to talking about anything. So we could talk about TV shows, animation, music, whatever you want to do. So, but I guess the first thing I'll ask, since you came in with the subject of Disney comics, is tell me a little bit about yourself and how you got interested in comic books and Disney comics in particular.
Pretty much I do comic book reviews on Disney Kingdom, basically Disney Kingdom, we're a site that covers all sorts of Disney news. And we have a spin-off site called What's on Disney Plus, so we cover everything that's on Disney Plus. And how I got started in comics was basically at school we had like a little library, and we had like Tintin, Asterix, the Smurfs, the French classics.
Cool.
And basically that's all I read until I got a subscription to Mickey Parade, which is a French magazine that publishes Disney comics.
Oh, okay. And I assume you can read French if that's...
Yes, I was born French, so we learned French, and I mainly learned English for watching cartoons.
Okay. And then how did reading Mickey Parade translate to a love of all Disney comics, if you love all the Disney comics?
Basically, for the longest time, I just had Mickey Parade, but I randomly walked into a comic book store, and they had a section of Gemstone comics, which is like Mickey Mouse and Friends, Donald Duck and Friends, Uncle Scrooge. It's okay. And the issue that I picked up, my first English Disney comic, was the adaptation of Runaway Brain, because that was my favorite short at the time.
Yeah.
And then I stopped picking them up because they were honestly a little bit too expensive. They were like $5 each for these Disney comics at the time.
And then what got you back into it?
Basically, when the boom picked up the Disney license and started doing comics based on Darkwing Duck, DuckTales, Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers, that's how I slowly got back into it. And then in 2016, I got picked up by Disney Kingdom, and basically I started getting comic book review copies from IDW and Joe Books, and basically started reviewing comics, so I've been learning more and more about Disney comics as time went on.
And so when you do reviews, do you do just reviews of the current stuff, or do you actually step back in the time machine and review an older book, or only if they reprint an older story?
I usually tend to do whatever's current in stores, but I've been taking a break, so I've been thinking of going back to do some classic stuff that I own, like basically like a out of the comic vault kind of thing, to see how that goes.
And since you have a pretty large amount of Disney comics, I assume that you have your favorites. So what titles are your favorites, or what artists or writers are your favorites?
Honestly, my favorite Disney artist is I hope I'm not butchering the name, but Giorgio Casavano. That's that's one of the Italian Disney artists. There's also Romano Scarpa, Floyd, Carl Barks, Paul Murray. Basically, I love the stuff from the 40s and 50s and like the 90s, because the 60s and 70s are not really the best era for Disney comics. Basically, Gold Key Whitman. No, thank you. I don't want to know about Beagle Boys' cats.
I think, though, honestly, those lean years, as it were, of the 70s and 80s, post-Barks, probably helped elevate Barks to, like, the status he is.
Yeah, because he got commissioned to do those paintings in the 70s.
And, it's like they didn't have anybody. I guess Tony Strobel might have been the closest, but even he is kind of compared to Carl Marx,
And there's like Al Telferino, the Donald Duck artist for the strip. He was the second closest, but I recall.
Oh, Taliaferro. That's
it's a shame that they stopped publishing the collections.
Yeah. But I've noticed that on Disney over the years. I mean, you know me as a big Harvey fan, and it's the same situation. Long gaps with nothing. So
yeah. Do you remember a title called Harvey Hits from Joe Books that never made it past the first issue?
Right. And then they had the covers listed for 2, 3, and 4. And then they're supposed to put they're supposed to be a graphic novel, but then. And I assume Joe Books is no more. I don't see their stuff.
No, they went out of business last year.
Okay. Because I knew they did get Disney stuff out, yeah.
Yeah, basically their Disney Afternoon license went to IDW, and they did 8 issues of reprints of the Boom stuff, and then it got canceled. Because they used the Boom version of the first arc of Darkwing Duck, which was ghost-written by another writer because the previous writer got fired. And then Joe Books published basically the upgraded edition of the Darkwing Duck series that was written by the rightful writer, Aaron Sparrow. So after that, their other stuff went to Dark Horse, so they have the Disney Princess license, and they have the license to do all the comics based on the recent movies like Frozen, Incredibles, that kind of thing.
Right. And what was the last thing Joe Books put out? Was it one of those things?
It was one of those Cine stories. You know those books where it's just screenshots of the movie or the TV show? Their last book was the Cine story for the Big Hero TV series.
Okay. I think the last.
But in terms of their proper comic, it was a one-shot of Big Hero 6 comics from Italy.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a one-shot.
I don't think I ever saw that.
And there was a one-shot of Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, which was a reprint of the 90s French adaptation from Dargaud. And other than that, it was Princess 17, and that's it. Done. There was countless delays. The titles being announced never showed up. And all of a sudden, they just went out of business just like that.
Yeah. So, is IDW the only Disney licensee publisher in the U.S. now, or
even that's a stretch because their IDW titles have been delayed constantly. Let me tell you about Big Hero 6, this series, the comic.
Okay.
That comic was supposed to be published in June of 2018, and it got delayed all the way to the fall of 2019. And number 2 and number 3 were supposed to be published that September and October, but it got delayed till last month.
Wow.
They just released it on Comixology, no physical edition at all. Shadow dropped out of nowhere.
So is it, I guess, I'll answer my own question, but is it difficult keeping up with what's coming out because it's so erratic?
Unfortunately, I've been trying to follow the release schedules, and sometimes it appears that something's coming out, but it's not there, or it gets delayed until a date that's not even in the catalog. Like the Haunted Mansion graphic novel that came out in October was supposed to be a release from last year, but there's countless delays. And right now, it appears that we were supposed to get Comics and Stories number 14, but that hasn't shown up, unfortunately. And Uncle Scrooge is nowhere to be seen so far.
So like I said, IDW is the only current publisher.
There are currently 4 publishers, but IDW is the biggest.
Okay, where are the other ones? I'm not sure.
Dark Horse has the movie titles and the Disney Princess titles.
Yeah.
Right now, it's for Princess. It's all reprints of the Joe Book stuff, but starting next year, it's all going to be all new material from Amy Meberson, which is the artist behind the original comic and Pocket Princesses, a webcomic that's really popular. And Fantagraphics has all of the older titles under their Disney Masters, Donald Duck and Uncle Scrooge titles, those big hardcovers.
Okay.
Yen Press, which is a manga company, has the Witch and Wizards of Mickey titles under their belt. And I just recently picked up Wizards of Mickey, and it's a pretty big book. 270 pages for $16. It's worth it.
So I know they probably went out a few years ago, but I think Slave Labor was doing a few titles like Haunted Mansion and stuff, but they're done.
They had Gargoyles too.
Yeah, and I think they had a couple others that did like one or two issues, like an Alice in Wonderland or something, or it was just called Alice. So
I don't even recall that one.
But anyway, are they out of the running right now?
They lost the license almost a decade ago.
Okay.
Oh,
that shows you how long ago I read them, but
I forgot the fourth company that has the license is Tokyo Pop, but they mainly deal with manga. So there's a Stitch manga, there's a Nightmare Before Christmas manga, and there's one called Dancing Wonderland, which is basically about a girl that uses these trading cards to summon Disney characters to help her dance.
Mm-hmm. And then the other company you mentioned, Boom has just gone out of business, I guess. I mean,
no, they're still around.
Oh, okay. They just don't have the Disney license anymore.
No. They basically have like Cartoon Network and Garfield. That's about it.
Oh, okay.
Other than that, their biggest stuff is like Aliens vs. Predator. Basically, they have a whole bunch of 20th Century Fox licenses because they're like 30% owned by Fox, and now they're 30% owned by Disney now. So now they have Marvel and a part of Boom.
So I guess technically with that, I guess Boom is kind of publishing Disney if it's 20th Century Fox.
Kind of.
I guess. I mean, it's kind of silly now. I mean, you could say Star Wars or something, just, is Disney and everything else.
But there is one big question left.
Yes.
Who would you predict that would have the Simpsons comics? Because Bongo went out of business a few years ago, and supposedly it was because of the Disney purchase. So who do you think would get the big juicy license?
I don't know. I mean, it's like it's not going to be Marvel or DC, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, my money's on Dark Horse or IDW.
I was going to say Dark Horse. I don't know about IDW nowadays because they kind of seem...
They're having a lot of money troubles from what I've heard. Like right now, in terms of Disney, their biggest selling stuff is Marvel and Star Wars titles geared more for kids.
Yeah. Although, that would be, I guess, a reason why they could do it is if they already have Star Wars, just like the Disney Plus streaming service, just kind of tie things in a little bit better if they're into the synergy. But
that would make sense.
But I've learned in recent years is Disney's not the greatest on synergy, and
no, especially when it comes to crossovers, they don't want crossovers that much.
And I forgot. I've been listening to my older podcast because I'm going to do a special best of on episode 100, and I forgot who I was listening to over again. But it was. Oh, I know. What was his name? He worked for Disney for a time, and I can't remember his name off the top of my head. Sorry. But anyway, he worked in the comic business for quite a while, and I asked him, why weren't you able to like promote things in Disney Adventures at the time was what he was working on and things like that. And he goes, unfortunately, Disney doesn't work that way, and that was back in the 90s. So,
wow.
Oh, I know. He was the editor on all the Disney comics when Disney was actually publishing their own books.
Was it like Len Wein or something like that?
Not him. I should look it up. It's embarrassing because I just listened to the show and his name escapes me. But anyway, that's what he was editing at the time, and I was asking about the Disney implosion. It's in my archives, so you can listen to the older episode. But
yeah, I've been very curious about that. I've been slowly collecting all of the '90s Disney comics just to give me something to do.
Yeah,
it's way cheaper than collecting the Dell stuff. That I can tell you.
I'll send you a link. The person who recommended me talk to him was Dana Gabbard, and he's a huge Duck fan. I don't know if you're aware of him. He used to publish a fanzine called the Duckburg Times about Carl Barks way back when, in the 70s and 80s, so that shows you
I heard
how
about
far
that.
back I'm going here.
That's way before I was born.
I mean, here's what you missed. I mean, it's so when I grew up, I was born in '66. The first Walt Disney Comics and Stories was almost the first one without Carl Barks. So I never saw Carl Barks for years. And so I heard about him in the 70s, and they were saying, this is all the comics with the good duck artist. And they hadn't started really reprinting them. And I said, what good duck artists? These guys are kind of okay. And then it was probably about late 70s, 77, 78. I finally saw what this guy could do. And I go, oh, okay, good artist here. Why aren't they just reprinting his stuff? And this is long before the oversized volumes, all the different albums and versions that they've had over the years of Carl Barks.
I got a whole bunch behind me.
You got it easy. It's like now you can just buy the whole thing. If you have money, you just buy the whole. But for years it was like, why don't they reprint this? Why don't they put that out? Why don't And then in 1984, when Whitman was doing them, they got real. It's just like currently, they got really sporadic in their distribution, and you couldn't find them. And then they were gone. And in '86, Gladstone New Company took it over, and they suddenly did it right. And I love the Gladstone ones; those are great.
Was it like the Four Rainbow Collection or something? That was the name of it.
That was the oversized hardbacks that first came out. They were like in the same slip cases, like another Rainbow. That's what it's called. And they did a little Lulu series, and it was similar to those. Have you seen those Russ Cochran EC volumes of like Tales from the Crypt and those things?
I don't really follow horror comics, to be honest.
Okay. But they're like in these oversized library books in a slipcase, like in a box set of 4. That was like the first real reprinting of Carl Barks in a proper format, and that was early
want to. Wow, my first Carl Barks book was actually a gemstone book, which is basically reprinting all of the Bark stories that inspired DuckTales episodes. So I picked up I got volume 2.
Yeah.
And the introduction in front was basically bashing the DuckTales show left and right. I'm like, I love this show.
Yeah.
Oh no. And then I read the comics.
Yeah. And, the 80s and 90s was like a really good time because, Disney turned around their animation and started doing animation for television. DuckTales was one of them. And then they did Chip and Dale's Rescue Rangers and Goof Troop and all the other ones. Tailspin, whatever.
Yeah, that was my era.
Yeah. And it was, even though I was already pushing being an adult and into being an adult, I still watched them all. I mean, it's like, hey, they can make good cartoons for television. I didn't know they could do that.
Yeah, all you have to do is hire Japanese studios.
Exactly. And so there was like a real golden era there for about a decade, I think, just everything was firing on all cylinders. And then, you got the Simpsons coming in there, and then all the Warner Brothers stuff, that part of the story, and then, what this guest was talking about is, the Disney figured, and we all knew this. It's like, well, why license this stuff out? We've been licensing it out to Dell and Gold Key and Whitman and blah, blah, for 50 years. We don't need to do that anymore. We'll do it ourselves. Well, in the 90s, that was easier said than done.
Oh, yeah. Every comic book company was going down.
Yeah.
All because of shiny covers.
Yeah. And I asked him about that too. I said, did things like the Superman death issue and 10 versions of X-Men #1, things like that, have any effect on or any relation with what was going on at Disney? And he said, to an extent, but it was just the industry in general. I mean, they were all putting out like the foil covers and the multi-covers and this, that. They still do that now, but it created their own implosion because, there's just too much to keep up with.
And they released too much stuff. There was like free Roger Rabbit titles and a whole bunch of stuff based on the TV shows. And at one point, we were going to do a Final Fantasy comic of all things.
And so when it cut back, I actually was happy to a certain extent because, there were too many titles and not so many good ones. I mean, there's a couple they cut that I actually like.
Mm-hmm.
I like Goofy Adventures, but I've always liked Goofy over the Ducks anyway.
Yeah, I've been trying to collect slowly a little bit of everything.
Yeah. And to a certain extent, some Mickey Mouse is really good. It depends.
Yeah,
on grab,
and then Marvel picked up the rights for a little bit.
And I bought those, but they kind of kept too much to the theatrical. Like there's a Little Mermaid and Aladdin and blah 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 blah.
Yeah, and they briefly distributed the Gladstone stuff.
Yeah,
for a little bit. From what I've seen at conventions, they're like always $1 each.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, I'll get those. Spider-Man shiny cup for $50. No, I'll get 50 Disney comics for that amount of price.
And then I jumped off the Disney bandwagon basically when Gemstone got it back, and they did it wrong this time. When they got it back,
what did they do?
Well, they called our friends. I was in a. Do you know what an APA is?
No.
This would be like the precursor of social media. Instead of everybody emailing or chatting back and forth or doing what we're doing, it's like they would create, it stood for Amateur Press Association. And I was in one called Where the Fun Begins, or WTFB, for the Disney Afternoon. Mm-hmm. And everybody would write their own article. And if there was 30 people in the group, you made 30 copies, and you sent them all to this one address. And the one guy that gets them all, he compiles them into a staple-bound book and sends them out to everybody. And you paid like a annual fee, kind of like a subscription, because it costs money to do it and stuff like that. But the fact that everybody printed their own stuff kind of kept the cost down. So so you're basically paying for postage. Anyway, so that's what people did before internet and blogs and things like that. And there's like some really famous APAs, like this one called Kappa Alpha you might have heard of, and some famous people in the comic industry were part of that, like Mark Evanier and Scott Shaw and things like that way back when. So anyway, my point of saying all that is we were talking about those type of Gemstone comics. We groused about the Disney implosion when Disney got rid of all the titles. And then when Gemstone got them back, we called them coverless comics because they were actually not printed with glossy covers. They were just the same stock on the interior of the comic. And the interior of the comic was like the Mando paper or something like that. It wasn't the high, quality glossy stock. And it was like, how cheap can you get? And lots and lots of reprints. So that's when
my Gemstone comic is not doing so good.
And that's when I jumped off the bandwagon. And then at the same time, which is really bizarre, they kept Walt Disney's Comics and Stories going, but they kept it as like this square-bound paperback volume that was like $10 a month or something. And it's like, I can't afford that.
That's crazy.
And they did that.
Yeah, that's crazy
years.
When you can get Looney Tunes for like $1 or $2 from
And
DC.
it was like $1 back then. I mean, it costs a little more now. I think it's like $2.99 now, Looney Tunes.
It's $5 here in Canada. Thank you, inflation.
Yeah, and in the U.S. it's $2.99. Close enough to $3. Anyway, but that's when I jumped off the Disney bandwagon, and then they stopped publishing for a while. So I think I bought a few when Boom came in because a friend of mine, two friends of mine that were in WTFB, they worked on those comics. One was David Gerstein. You may have heard
Yeah,
of
I
him.
talked to him a lot.
Okay. And the other is Joe Torcivia, who did a lot of the Uncle Scrooge stories for a while there. And if you don't know who he is, you'll see his name occasionally on the cover.
Yeah, I basically started collecting Disney comics when Boom first came, and it was like Comics and Stories number 699, where it was like a culture
like
heroes kind of thing.
Yeah.
I've heard mixed things about that entire series online.
Yeah. And for me, it's just been frustrating because, it's like I want it to be just a solid, nice title like it used to be and consistently published, which you're having that problem. And it's like, I can't keep up with it because I try to with my Harvey stuff and it's like, and now they're not being published anymore. So I'm like, okay.
Yeah, my comic subscription is pretty bare at the moment. All of the stuff I keep subscribing to gets canceled.
Yeah.
Like Harley Quinn, gone.
Right.
Ghost Spider, gone. Gwenpool, gone. Archie, hiatus.
Yeah.
They'll never return.
Now you know what I went through. It's like, when back in the 90s, I was collecting every Archie title except for the digest. I was just getting the standard books.
Yeah, I was just collecting the stuff at the grocery stores.
I was getting all the Archie titles. I was getting all the Disney titles. I was getting all the EC reprints, and I got Looney Tunes, and I think, DC was doing Animaniacs and Pinky and the Brain back then, and I think Marvel was doing Beavis and Butthead and Ren and Stimpy, and I was getting all those things. And now none of them are.
Marvel does not even do licensed stuff anymore.
Yeah,
like the last time they did was Disney Kingdoms. That's it. Like it was just a bunch of comics based on the theme park rides.
Yeah,
and I heard that got canceled due to low sales.
Yeah,
Tiki Room could not save it. I love the Tiki Room comic, but it's like people that buy Marvel comics don't expect talking birds. They expect superheroes to die and come back a month later.
So you said you do a lot of reviews online, and before we started recording here, you mentioned that you sometimes get a little heat for some of your reviews. So could you explain a little further?
Basically, I don't share the same opinions as everybody else. Like, I'm going to say it right now, I am not a fan of Don Rosa's Disney stuff.
I'm not either. Sorry,
because
Don.
I'm sorry, but the way he draws the Beagle Boys so realistically, not my thing.
Mm-hmm.
And, well, that's mostly it. Like, I like to see Disney comics done in different styles. Like, yesterday I posted a picture of a new IDW book coming out.
Yeah. And
everybody hated the art style. It's like, it's just for one issue. It's not the end of the world.
And the artist, his name is Harvey, I think his last name. That's why I was making a joke about it.
Yeah, and basically, it's like, I hate that everybody wants to stick to the Bart's formulas. Like, I like detailing comics because they do their own thing.
Yeah, actually, I didn't comment on the art style, but I thought that's not too bad. I mean, it's not.
It's because the kids today love different art styles. Like it's like something that pops is the thing that'll get their attention.
Yeah, I mean the two art styles I don't like really. I don't like too much anime manga versions of like Disney, and I don't like it if they make them a little like beyond Disney babies.
Yeah,
cute.
that's why I like the Kingdom Hearts manga that came out. Basically, it was made cartoony.
Yeah,
and the artist made sure to make the Disney characters look on model as possible.
Right. And, I agree with you. And then I'll tell you my take on Don Rosa. Now, I know you said you're not a fan of EC Comics, but they published the original Mad when it was a comic book. Well, all the way through, actually, when it was a magazine.
Yeah, the only way I know about EC is because I love the Tales from the Crypt Keeper cartoon.
Oh, okay.
That's another hot take that I have. I prefer the cartoon to the live action show. Sorry.
Oh, cool. I like the live action show too, though.
It's just I prefer how they designed the Crypt Keeper. Like he doesn't look like a rotting bag of bones.
Right.
I know that's what he's supposed to be, but I prefer the cartoon version better.
Right. No, I agree with you. But let me tell you what I was saying about the Mad. So Mad had this artist named Bill Elder. He's passed away now, but he did spot-on caricatures of, the Disney characters and things like that.
Is that the one where Donald gets sent to a duck farm?
Yeah, it's called Mickey Rodent. So that's Bill Elder's artwork. Anyway, but he can draw in any style and imitate anything like that. And when Don Rosa started doing his Uncle Scrooge and Duck stories and things like that, I said, he's more suited for something like Mad and with a Bill Elder style. I don't think he has a Carl Barks. And I've met Don Rosa a couple times. He's a sweetheart of a guy. I mean, I'd interview him on here.
Not to me.
He probably wouldn't want to be interviewed since I'm dissing him. But, I don't like his art style for the Ducks. It's like, and more than one person has recommended it to me, even though I read it when it first came out. They go, well, Mark, read the history, the life and times of Uncle Scrooge. And it's like,
I did read that. I almost did a review on it, but at the end I didn't do it. It's just everybody made it seem like it was the best thing ever. And I read it, I was like, is that it?
Yeah.
I've seen Italian comics better than that.
Yeah, so, I mean, we're not making Disney fan friends if anybody's listening, but, it's like,
yeah.
I'm glad you think similarly because, I'm one of the few who does say that I don't care for Don Rosa's art on the Ducks, and they go, what? And I know, and I've seen it. If Rosa goes to Europe, he's mobbed like a Beatle or something, like one of the Beatles or something like
crazy.
That. And it's like...
I did meet him at a convention once,
yeah.
And I could tell it did not leave a good impression because I had a DuckTales shirt on, and there's a sign specifically saying, I'm an artist, I don't do DuckTales. DuckTales is not a good thing. This is the original DuckTales. This is the good one. This is the one from Barks. It's like there's this big sign of his convention table.
Yeah. I mean, I will tell you, I had one quibble when DuckTales first came out, and this is the original series. I haven't seen it.
Yeah.
Is that I wish Donald Duck was on it more often because he was in the comic. But
yeah,
I could live without it because they had other characters that were quite interesting.
Did you want to hear why they didn't add him that much?
I think I know, but tell me.
It's because Michael Eisner was afraid that Donald Duck would steal the spotlight. That and the fact that people could barely understand what he's saying, and because the Barks version of Donald Duck talks so much, it might be a little bit harder to understand as time went on, so that's why Donald didn't show up as much. And it's the same thing for the new show. Donald's in like a couple episodes per season. That's it.
Well, now if you put him in there, for most people, it'd probably seem weird to have Donald Duck. Why is Donald Duck in these stories? Because he was in the original comics? What? Because nobody reads.
Yeah, and in the original show, it was so weird when they introduced Fenton Crackshell, who is better known as Gizmo Duck, because he is basically Donald Duck's design, except for like puffy hair.
Right.
And he basically took the role of Donald in a couple of the Bark adaptations.
Right.
Like the Tra-La-La one.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's what you have to do. I mean, it's not every Barks Disney story has excessive amounts of Donald Duck, but a lot of them he's integral to the story, and it's hard if you're going to adapt it directly.
My favorite one is probably a weird choice.
And it's what?
It's the one where the nephews run away from home on Christmas Eve because they think that Donald will be mad that they destroyed his Christmas presents with the garage. And Donald goes out to go find him. It's so heartwarming, that story.
Yeah. I have nothing but good things to say about the original DuckTales. Like I said, the newer series, haven't seen it much. I know they redesigned the characters and recast and stuff like that.
I honestly like the new show, but it does have its flaws.
Okay.
The Beagle Boys get ignored after season 1.
Aw.
Yeah, but basically they introduce some new villains, and basically Magica is reduced to being the joke. But honestly, Magica was always kind of a joke villain compared to other stuff, like the Phantom Blot.
Yeah.
The Phantom Blot is in DuckTales now.
That's cool.
And he's voiced by the bad guy from Breaking Bad. But the thing I don't like with the Phantom Blot is that now he has this like infinity gauntlet thing on his hand. He basically steals magic. So basically he's going around trying to steal people's magic powers. So he basically tried to destroy Magica because she destroyed his village as a kid. And that's the thing with the DuckTales cartoon, is that they do changes and people are not taking it well.
Now, do you review those too, or do you just stick with
no, we have somebody else that reviews the cartoons, unfortunately. I've been reviewing the DuckTales comics from IDW. And they did do a classics volume, which had, I'm not sure who it was. I think it was like Van Horn. It was the DuckTales comics from Gladstone.
Yeah, I think Daryl Van Horn. Yeah,
they reprinted a bunch of those to promote the show.
Yeah,
and the new comics, like one thing I have to say about the IDW comics based on the shows is that they're produced so far in advance that they barely feature anything from the show. Like the Tangled comic only has the main characters. There's no characters from later in season 1. DuckTales is the same thing. It's just the Scrooge characters, the Beagle Boys, and there's barely anything from later in season 1 because these comics are produced so far in advance that they're kind of limited what they can do.
I have a question about all that. Since you're reading all of them, are these stories produced here in the U.S. or where are they produced?
It's written by Americans, but all the art is done in Italy.
Okay.
by the Disney Italia team.
Okay, because it seemed like it was heading that way anyway.
All the Frozen stuff, all the Incredible stuff, all of the art, all of the scripts are done here.
Okay.
But all the art is being done in Italy.
Huh.
Wow. It's kind of weird. Like it's like almost every new comic you get, it's the same thing. It's all scripts from America, but all of the artists are from Italy.
Wow.
Like Dark Horse recently did a few comics where it was Snow White, Little Mermaid, and a bunch of other movies, but from the point of view of the main character. So it's a good bunch of comics. Like you see much more of what Snow White is thinking throughout the movie and that kind of thing. Basically trying to fix what the original couldn't. And all of the art is done in Italy, so it looks pretty good.
Is there a reason for that? Is it cheaper, or you don't know?
I honestly think it's just cheaper.
Yeah.
Because I'm not sure. I'm not sure what the exact thing is, but I think that hiring American people is a lot more expensive than shipping out to Europe.
Yeah.
That's just my guess.
Yeah.
Like the only American comic was the Joe Books Darkwing Duck and the Joe Books Disney Princess, because those used American writers and American artists.
Okay.
But they were published in Canada.
Okay. That's right.
Yeah, because Joe Books is from Canada.
That's right. It was. I forgot.
So it's like you can't even call them American comics because they're published by a Canadian company.
It's the American continent, North America. Anyway. Now, are there any other Disney things out there? Like, you mentioned Journal of Mickey. Is that still being published and things like that now?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Like pretty much all of the comics from Europe are like in their like issues 3,000, 4,000. They're like weekly because there's so much Italian stuff that they can publish these things forever.
Well, I know, I knew that back in the 80s. I said, wow, I heard about all this stuff that was being published in magazines like Topolino and things like that. And
yeah, because every time
Journal de Mickey or whatever it's called.
Yeah, every time I would go travel, I would collect a Disney comic from that country, so I've got a whole bunch of Disney comics from different countries that I've been to.
Right.
And the sizes are so different.
Yeah.
There is one that can barely fit in my hand. It's called Donald Pocket.
How big was it? I don't think I've heard that one. Is it?
I'll have to show you after the show.
Okay. I mean, is it really small, like teeny?
It is.
Oh, okay.
It's smaller than one of my Mickey plushes.
Wow.
That's how small it is.
And is it legible? Like, can you read something?
Yes, it is, because the way that European comics are done is like all the text is like pretty big.
Oh, okay. And is it possible to read it without destroying it, or is it like so fragile?
You have to be careful.
Yeah, I figured, because I know Marvel.
Because it's like what American comics used to be published in, like that very thin paper from like the 50s and 60s.
Okay. Yeah. Because like recently, well, let's jump back. Back in the 60s, Marvel did these little mini comic books that are literally like a half an inch by 3/4 inch or something, and they're like 64 pages each or something, and they're tiny, and now they're valuable because they came out of little vending machines and things like that. Well, fortunately, and I forgot which publisher did it, but they reprinted them, and they reprinted them in a normal size, so they're actually, you can hold them in your hands and read them like a normal book. So they finally reprinted them after
that does remind years. Me. It reminds me of something that Marvel did recently. They signed a contract with Archie to have Marvel reprints done through Archie Digests.
Oh yeah.
It was basically the Marvel Comics Digest, and it got canceled after 8 issues because, let's face it, who wants to read a big Marvel comic in such a tiny format?
Yeah. Well, I saw those, and I was going to buy them, but the problem I had with them, apart from the size, is just the choice of stories. It
was like 2 to 3 60s titles, and then all the rest is like adaptations from like the cartoons.
Yeah. And I'd rather have it all old stuff or all new stuff, or they love to do that
weird.
Nowadays. It's like I don't get it.
I don't
know. Let's see. So you send me all these emails about the Disney streaming, right?
Yes.
That's you. I just want to make sure because I get
so many. I'm the one that's like, hey, I'm gonna remind you that we're adding stuff every week.
Okay.
And you're basically commenting when they would add new stuff. I'm like, okay, I'm going to start tagging you.
Yeah. And I thank you. Well, I think you tagged me even before I got the service, but it was my wife who finally said, I'm just going to subscribe you to it, because I kept talking about, should I get it? Should I, it's like...
Well, it's only $6 a month for a whole bunch of Disney stuff. Why not?
And we get Hulu and ESPN. We don't watch that, but
actually, we don't have Hulu here.
Oh, okay. With our deal,
no, we're limited with streaming services.
With our deal, you get Disney with Hulu and
ESPN
and HBO Max. So that's all clumped together.
Yeah, that's so weird. It's like, hey, we're gonna promote The Rival.
Yeah, I know.
And The Rival's not that good.
And unfortunately, here's the catch. Also, right now, I have a Roku TV. And Roku TV doesn't support HBO Max. So if I want to watch HBO Max, I have to watch it on my phone. Anyway.
Yeah, I usually watch it on my TV, like a Samsung, or on my iPad.
Yeah. But anyway, so I appreciate those email updates. But, you know me, I like the older stuff, so I kind of grouse and go, why isn't this here? Why isn't that there?
And I would usually say, it's because we don't have it in good enough conditions. These things take time.
Yeah, but sometimes I have it in good condition because I have it on a Blu-ray or something. It's just not on there, and I still don't understand.
It's probably a licensing thing, unfortunately, because DOS has so many streaming services that there's like a whole bunch of deals going on, and that's why like a bunch of Fox stuff is not in the US, but it is in Canada. Like recently we got Big and Home Alone 4, Home Alone 5, and those kind of things.
Yeah,
it's like we have a whole bunch of Fox
first
stuff.
2 Home Alones, yeah.
Yeah, we had those since last year.
Yeah. And like I told you, it's like we got a bunch of Christmas stuff. Now, it might have been on there last Christmas, but I didn't have the service then. So they had taken it off for a while.
Yeah.
And then it just popped on there one day, and I go, wow,
And now there's a whole playlist of just Christmas stuff.
Right. So, and then one time, I don't think I told you this, but, maybe I did. You had mentioned that you have this group function. Well, now we have it. We didn't have it before.
Yeah, that was in Canada first for some reason.
Yeah. Maybe they're test driving it, and they said,
yeah.
Oh. So I guess
I didn't even use it because I don't have any friends.
I was going to say, you and I can watch something now. Whee!
Yeah.
But why? I mean, you can
I'll
watch
torture you to modern cartoons. No, but I'm kidding. All the modern Disney shows are good.
Yeah. Well, I was surprised. It's like, yes, I grouse about not having a bunch of the older stuff, but I do like that Jeff Goldblum National Geographic series.
There's a second season coming out.
Yay! And I like the show about the Imagineering show. I can't think of the name of it though.
The Imagineering Story.
Yeah.
That's by Leslie Iwerks. I love her stuff.
Yeah. And I like, to a certain extent, there was a pet show that is hosted by Howie Mandel. That was good in a...
we don't have that here, unfortunately.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
it's like we have all this Fox stuff, but National Geographic, forget it. It's like we have the National Geographic stuff because it's all licensed to Netflix here.
Oh, okay.
So we have to wait for their deal to end before it comes here, like that Gordon Ramsay show.
Yeah,
we just got it 2 months ago. Okay. That was a launch thing in the U.S.
Okay, so yeah, there's a lot, and there's quite a few documentaries that were new, like Titanic, a new one.
And there's the Frozen 2 documentary, which is honestly, I could not believe that got approved because it shows a lot of dirt that that Disney documentaries from the 90s would not even show.
But it seems like you get everything Muppets and everything Star Wars, correct?
We are missing a couple of Muppet stuff because, let's face it, licensing issues is a big problem when it comes to songs and dead celebrities. So don't expect Muppet Show and Muppet Babies, the original, to be there.
Well, yeah, that's not here either.
And we're missing a couple of movies because those are owned by Sony. So Muppets Take Manhattan and Muppets in Space.
Yeah, although those are on another service. I forgot which one, but
it's on Netflix here.
Okay, that's probably where it is.
And in terms of Star Wars, we have everything that's considered canon.
Yeah.
So the only things we don't have is the infamous Christmas special, the cartoons from the 80s. Yeah. And those 2 weird Ewok movies.
Oh, yeah, I was going to ask about those. Okay.
So everything that Disney considers canon, yes. Even the Clone Wars cartoon that was made by Warner Brothers is on here.
Yeah. I didn't notice it, but they probably have it. Did they have the Clone Wars theatrical movie?
Yes, we do.
Okay.
It's just that they removed the Warner Brothers logo at the start.
Okay.
It's just Lucasfilm.
And then I noticed that they did a Lego Christmas special, which I bookmarked. I haven't watched yet.
Yeah, it's good, but it's not for everybody because it's more for kids. But there is a lot of references to the movies.
Yeah, well, that's why I said I watched just the trailer. I said this might be watchable.
Basically the plot is: what if we put the character that everybody hates throughout all of the movies? Like, I like Rey, but everybody hates her online. I feel so bad for her.
Wow. I don't mind. The one that drove me nuts, in fact, I forgot who posted this on Facebook. Doesn't matter. Somebody posted an old TV guide ad for the original holiday special. And people were saying, "Ooh, gross, makes me sick." Well, and then I just wrote, better than Jar Jar. And I was going to put, but I decided to hold back because there are fans. I said I was going to put better than the prequels, but
I'm not a big fan of the prequels. Honestly.
Yeah, I said I like parts of the prequels, so it's like
I can sit for Revenge of the Sith. That's about it. But the new movies, I'm going to be controversial again. I like them.
I do too.
It's like I don't get all the hate. It's just it just shows the dark side of the Star Wars fan base that everybody is like, oh, that's what a Star Wars fan is. Like, I'm just a common fan that just likes the movies and the comics. I don't go through all of that like fan fiction stuff. Or I was supposed to call it the legend stuff.
I will say that Episode 8, when I first saw it, I didn't like it. And it wasn't for the reasons everybody else didn't like it.
It was the casino stuff. I honestly did not like the casino scene. That's the only thing I did not like about Last Jedi.
Yeah. I didn't care for it, and I realized why when I saw it a second time, is because, and then I saw Episode 9 right after in the theater. I realized I didn't like it because it was kind of like Empire Strikes Back. It was a cliffhanger. You know,
and it was a different director doing it.
Yes, and so you know, but I liked it more the second time I saw it. I said, okay, this isn't bad. You know, now that I know what's going on.
Yeah,
I was getting kind of confused on that one. I said,
yeah,
no, is this going to go the route of some other movie series where it's like, you know, it's like keep it kind of sane, you know, for these 9, please. I mean, if you want to really screw up Star Wars, you have free reign to do it now. Although, although they're not doing it because The Mandalorian's actually decent. But, you know, it's like, I don't care anymore. You know, it's like, you got to remember, I saw Star Wars when it wasn't A New Hope and when it was just called Star Wars when I was 10 years old. So I'm an old man with this stuff. You know?
And one more thing. Yeah. Even if the original version, Episode 8, would have been done by George Lucas, Luke still would have died.
Yeah.
Sorry.
The only thing I don't like about 7, 8, and 9 as a whole, I just wished that they had one scene with Luke, Leia, and Han together in the film. Just like at the beginning or something. They were having like a mini reunion, and then Luke got called off somewhere, and Han
or
got
even as Force spirits.
You know, it's like because they were all alive. They were in the same room reading the script together. They can't film the... You know, it was like, you know, it was such a disappointment. And then, of course, Carrie Fisher dies, you know, and so now you can't even do that even in fantasy, you know, it's like without CGI, and it's like...
And then Han Solo shows up in Episode 9 out of nowhere. It's like, hi, I'm here, even though I don't want to be here. I'm the only actor that hates being in these movies.
Yeah.
And I still come back.
And it's like they didn't even do a CGI reunion. They could have done that, you know. It's like, I mean, they bring back Palpatine. They bring back everybody, and they can't bring back the 3 stars of the original trilogy for one scene.
They even brought back Frank Oz.
Yes.
It's a miracle.
That's true, because he had retired from Muppets and everything else.
And considering his views on Disney, I'm surprised he did it. Because he hates what Disney has done with the Muppets.
Yeah.
Even though I like the new stuff, I'm going to be controversial again. I love the ABC show.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And Muppets Now. I know it's a mess, but I still liked it.
I only watched the first episode, but I thought it was pretty funny. The only thing I didn't like, you know, I didn't like the ABC show as much, but it might be because when it was originally airing, since it's kind of it depends on the continuity, and I didn't get all the episodes because, you know, it was back when TV wasn't streaming as much still, you know, and so, you know, I'd miss a piece and I go, what's going on this week? You know, this is too hard to follow.
Did you hear about all the things that happened with that show?
No, what?
How basically they had to kill it halfway through and rework almost the entire show just to please the older Muppet fan base. And because it took 5 months, the ratings were so down that pleasing the fans ended up killing the show.
Yeah. I didn't need them to do that, you know, even though
I was defending the show left and right because, let's face it, Muppets were always for adults.
Yeah.
And the company, after Jim Henson died, they, like, flanderized it so much until Disney bought them.
Yeah.
Like, all the Muppet stuff from, like, the Christmas special on NBC with the Fear Factor scenes. Like, no, that's not my Muppets.
I know. Well, I used to say it for years. I said Muppets without Jim Henson isn't the Muppets. But I do like the last two theatrical films, Muppets and Muppets Most Wanted. I thought they did a decent job there.
I liked it, but the advertising killed it. Because Disney at the time could not do a good trailer. Tangled, it barely showed what the movie was about because we were like, oh no, Princess of the Frog flops because we focused it too much on girls. Let's make it like a big action thing for the boys.
Yeah.
Make a trailer that's like the final scene of Maximus riding the horse and make it look like it's a cop chase.
Yeah. Well, they also had to change his name too. I mean, it's like, why didn't you just call it Rapunzel? What's wrong with that? You know,
it was Rapunzel unbraided. It's like, oh no, we gotta change it to please the boys. It's Tangled.
The same thing with Frozen. I mean, it was the what was it called? The Emperor's Nightingale or something?
I think it was just a Snow Queen.
Snow Queen, that's what it is. Emperor's Nightingale.
And Brave was the Bear in the Bow.
Yeah.
And then, boom, Brave.
Yeah.
One word titles.
Yeah. So, I don't know. I roll my eyes and I still see these things. Unfortunately,
Onward is just the Frozen font.
Right.
It's like when I noticed that, I'm like, is Pixar super lazy now?
Yes. Except for Onward, all their movies are sequels, so it's like
yeah, and I'm super glad that they got Pete Docter to be in charge now, because now we're seeing more original stuff coming in. Like Disney Plus, they had these like shorts called Spark Shorts, and they're amazing. It's like more stuff that's for like mature audiences more than the movies. Like, and they cover some heavy topics, and same thing with the Disney shorts. Those were called it's like I forgot the names, but it was basically shorts done by the younger animators, and they're all super good.
Yeah.
Oh, it's Short Circuit. That's the name of them. It's Short Circuit.
Okay. I've seen them on there, but I haven't watched them yet. So I'll have to take
you should. They do different art styles and different. They focus on different effects.
So I guess overall on Disney Channel, not Disney Channel,
Disney Plus.
Actually, that's a question. Does Disney Channel still exist after all this?
Yes, it is, but they're shutting down all of the ones around the world.
Okay, because I was wondering about that. It's like, isn't it kind of redundant? I don't know, but it's like...
Basically, basically the only reason that people watch Disney Channel, Disney XD is just to watch the new episodes, because usually you'd have to wait until the season finale airs, and then the month later it drops on Plus.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So that's what we do with like DuckTales and Tangled the series and all that stuff. It's like after the finale airs, a month later, boom, all of it's on Disney Plus.
Yeah, but that'll probably change. They'll probably start premiering things directly on Disney Plus and just phase out.
Speaking of premieres, have you watched the new Mulan movie yet?
I have not, because I didn't want to pay extra for it.
Well, I got good news for you. It's gonna be free next month.
That's why I was waiting too. I knew it was free in December, so it's like.
And now we're getting Soul too, the new Pixar movie.
So that's
it's not gonna be $30.
Okay.
It's free.
Okay.
And it's coming down on Christmas Day. It's here.
I like free. I mean, I watched Hamilton. I wasn't planning to like it, but I actually enjoyed it. So.
I tried, but the rapping went so fast that I could not watch it without subtitles.
Well, hey, I watched it. My sister had visited during the coronavirus time, but she came by last summer, and we didn't get sick. And I just put it on just to show that we had Disney Plus. And she says, "Oh, I've seen Hamilton a couple times, you know," and I go, "Really? Okay. Is it any good?" She goes, "Yeah, I liked it." And so I just put it on. And then after a bit, I got caught up in it. I go, "Hey, this is pretty good. I like this. Okay."
Yeah, the main guy behind Hamilton is the new voice of Gizmo Duck.
Oh, cool.
And they made him Latin. So now his name is Fenton Crackshell Cabrera. And yeah, it's pretty nice to have some celebrities in there doing these classic characters too.
Mm-hmm.
And did you know about the story about them not being able to use Mickey Mouse?
On what? On Hamilton?
On
or?
DuckTales.
Oh, on DuckTales. I was like,
yeah, yeah. Basically,
no, I haven't heard this. Go ahead.
No, basically, in the 80s, Michael Eisner's only rule for Disney Afternoon was no Mickey Mouse show. You can't use Mickey Mouse.
Wow.
So in like an episode of Bonkers, you can hear Mickey Mouse, but you can't see him. He's always in shadow. Or for a majority of the episode, he was in a dog cage.
Wow.
You know those like those carryable dog cages you have at like the airport?
Right.
It's like you hear Mickey Mouse's voice coming out of a cage.
Weird.
Because we can't use Mickey Mouse at all.
And that's still the rule now, even long
yeah.
after
In DuckTales, you can't use Mickey Mouse, but in the season 2 finale, Donald Duck has a castaway moment, and instead of a volleyball, it's a watermelon that's shaped like Mickey Mouse.
Oh, God.
And it's the voice actor from the 2013 shorts. It's like, okay, here's Mickey Mouse's voice coming out of a watermelon.
Mm.
And they also had a rule.
Well, what about that Mickey and Friends show that's done kind of like in a little, I don't know how you describe it. It's a stylized show. You know that
it's basically the 1930s, 1950s clashing together.
Right, but I mean, how do they get away with that, or is it because Mickey's the star?
It's because Mickey's the star.
Oh, I get it. So he can't cameo on other shows.
No crossovers, no cameos. And
I was thinking, if you can't do any animation, I mean, they've done plenty of animation with Mickey.
And the legal thing gets worse, believe it or not. It's like there was an episode with Tailspin characters, but they couldn't use Baloo.
Oh, brother!
Because if an IP is being used for a movie, you can't have it in the TV shows. So basically, they couldn't use Baloo, they couldn't use King Louie because the remake was being done at the time. And then in season 3, there was supposed to be a cameo from the Rescue Rangers, but that got cut because Disney's been trying to do Rescue Rangers movie for years.
Wow.
And they snuck it in the storyboards, and slowly they've been adding the Rescue Rangers in an episode, and Disney's like, okay, fine, you can have the Rescue Rangers, but they can't talk.
Wow.
So you just hear them going like a chittering chipmunk noise. That's it.
That's weird.
And they're only in there for like 3 minutes. They're like, okay, here we are. I'm going to save you, Launchpad. I'm going to save you from Steelbeak by pushing a button, and then, okay, bye-bye, cameo over. These legal things are so weird.
Now, how do you find out about all these?
The producers have talk on Twitter, and they have blogs explaining about certain
you're following
things.
something.
It's like a little behind the scenes thing where they discuss why certain things can't be on the show.
Wow.
It's so weird.
That is weird. Are there any rules for Goofy or any other characters?
Actually, Goofy did do a cameo, but it was the Goof Troop version.
Okay.
And
that makes sense.
Basically, he was in this like wish by the genie from DuckTales the movie, where Donald wishes for a more normal family. So the show becomes a 1990s sitcom, like think Full Family House, Full whatever the show is.
Full House.
Yeah, that one.
Fuller House now.
And basically, Donald has Goofy as his neighbor.
Mm.
And the genie is voiced by Jaleel White. The Urkel.
Urkel, yeah.
So it's like a super 90s episode, and then at the end of the episode, Goofy gets dragged out of the wish by accident. So he's just randomly in Duckburg now. It's like, what do I do here? It's like Goofy's stuck in Duckburg, and he hasn't been seen since.
Wow. So, I guess, well, let me ask you, I know we're going to go on another tangent here, but I need to know because I haven't watched it yet. I've been instructed to watch the new Animaniacs, which premiered today that we're recording. This is going to be uploaded in a couple weeks.
It's weird how they did it here in Canada.
Oh.
Since we don't have Hulu, they just showed the first 4 episodes on Teletoon, which is basically our Cartoon Network. And the 5th episode airs tomorrow morning, and then it's going to be a new episode every week because we don't have Hulu, so we can't have. And
13, yeah, we have 13 episodes all.
Yeah, basically, Chorus is a big Canadian monopoly company. They have the rights for Disney shows, Nickelodeon shows, Cartoon Network shows. So we run the Canadian versions of Disney Channel, Cartoon Network, Nickelodeon. It's all the same company. And they own YTV and Teletoon. So they own like 90% of all the kids' networks in Canada.
Wow.
So because they have the rights to Warner Brothers stuff,
yeah,
you can't have anything on streaming services. So Harley Quinn, that's on Adult Swim. Yes, we have a 24-hour Adult Swim channel here, but it's mostly all raunchy teen movies because we got to fill it up somehow.
Right.
And Looney Tune cartoons is on Teletoon. So basically it's one episode, which is like 15 minutes, and that's it.
Are those the new Looney Tunes that were made for
the new ones.
HBO Max? Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
It's a weird thing. So we can't have any of it on streaming services, just TV.
Wow. For how long? Forever?
Forever.
Wow.
We have that Yabba Dabba Doo kids thing. It's like, okay, how come we have all of this stuff that American TV does not want?
Weird. So anyway, going back to Animaniacs, I watched the trailers because I've been assigned to watch the new Animaniacs show for a future podcast. So I said, let me watch it first before we have an hour-long discussion, so at least I can have some sort of knowledge behind it. I watched the original ones in the 90s religiously. I have all the DVDs and everything.
Yeah,
like
same
that.
here, but I don't think it's aged that well, honestly.
So there's still some funny stuff, but there's some skits. So let me give you my impressions, and then you tell me. So I saw the trailer. It looks like it's animated in a completely different way than they animated back in the 90s.
Yes, it is.
They got the original voice talent, but apparently not the original writers, which isn't necessarily a bad thing if you have good writers. But you tell me about that. It looks like it's only Yakko, Wacko, and Dot and Pinky and the Brain.
I can confirm that's a fact.
Okay. Because, yeah, that was one of the things, if there is a downside in the original Animaniacs, too many lackluster characters.
Yeah, basically a parody of a gangster movie that no one's ever seen. And the hippos.
Yes.
Yeah, let's have 11 minutes of fat jokes.
Maybe even Chicken Boo, It's like, although I like Chicken Boo.
Katie Kaboom.
Because it was so freaking weird. I said, okay, let's do this.
Oh, and that weird kid that comes out of the house and says something and then just goes back. Yeah, that's a time filler. It's the kid from Looney Tunes.
So, without seeing it beyond the trailers that were on there, which made it look better than I expected, is it at least watchable or perhaps even better than the original 90s series?
It is, but you can really tell that they're really pushing new jokes about reboots and basically the fact that we've been gone for 20 years, so we have to relearn everything that's been going on and expect a lot of Trump jokes. Well, I watched the first 2 episodes and there was like 4 of them.
Oh, wow. So Bill Clinton doesn't play the sax, huh?
Yes, he does.
Oh, he does? Okay.
He shows up. He's not in the intro, but in a song in the first episode, he just shows up out of a fountain for one scene. The intro has new lyrics because every character got gutted, so we have to fill it with something.
Right. Although I love Slappy Squirrel, so none of the other ones make even a cameo or anything?
No, so far it's just Wacko, Yakko, Dot, Pinky, Brain, and Ralph. That's it.
No Elmira?
And was she even a character that people liked?
Who, Elmira? No.
Yeah.
I just said that because they did the later series Pinky, Elmira, and Brain.
Don't remind me of that. Even the writers did not want to do it.
I thought they might have a cameo where they could sacrifice.
They did have Buster and Babs as a very quick cameo for a song, but I'm not going to spoil what it's about.
very weird, very interesting. But I will watch it, even if you said it was awful. I'd still give it a chance.
Like, the only problem I have with this show is that you can really tell that it's done through vector animation, where it's where it's like rigged, especially in the first 2 episodes, because those are done by Snipple, which is notorious for using that.
Well, now, fill me in on this. I mean, is this kind of like Flash animation, or what's it like?
It's kind of like Flash, but all of the characters are hand-drawn, but they're rigged with like pre-drawn facial expressions and different poses. But it's more freedom than Flash. It's what the new Mickey Mouse shorts are done with, or the new Tangled cartoon. So it depends on the studio.
When did this come into style? About that?
The early 2010s.
Okay.
Like, it's mainly cartoons done in Canada that started using it, like Wander Over Yonder, Tangled, Jake and the Neverland Pirates. Those all use vectorized animation.
Okay.
It's a lot more free than what you would have with Flash.
Okay. Yeah, because Flash used to drive me nuts. Like, example that I can think of that always drove me nuts, and I'm a Dr. Seuss fan, is the Wubbulous World of Cat in the Hat, or whatever it's called, or the Cat in the Hat Knows That, or whatever it's called, and the heads keep bobbing up and down, and it's like, I hate that bobbing thing.
Yeah, Animaniacs does that a little bit, but it really depends on the studio, like I said, because later episodes are done in Canada, and you can really tell there's a difference.
Okay. All right.
Like, with the Looney Tunes cartoons, like, a lot of them are done in Canada, but the Bugs and Elmer episodes were mainly done overseas, and you can really tell.
Yeah. I'm actually kind of shocked that they tried to do it as close as to the originals as they did, and like the new Looney Tunes, because, I mean, there's been so many decades now where they keep trying, like, new versions of the Looney Tunes and stuff like that, and it's like, just doing like the old ones. What's so hard about that?
Actually, they did. Most of the crew behind the new one are actually from the previous cartoon that was like Wabbit.
Yeah.
So they had the freedom to be more like the original, so we did.
Yeah. I mean, Wabbit was close to the original, but they had those crazy designs with the big feet. Why?
Yeah.
Why do that? Just draw them like they're supposed to be drawn. And it's like, I don't get that on modern cartoons. Like, they always have to tweak them. And it's like, I don't mind the newer Rocky and Bullwinkle cartoons that came out. I don't love them.
We don't even have those.
Oh, okay. I don't love
Amazon
them. But
Prime does not have them here.
Oh, okay. But, some people, they just poo-poo them out of hand, but they're not bad. They're not great, it's like, but
you want to know something that's really bad?
The redesigns kind of drive me nuttier than the voices, it's like, anyway.
Like, the worst one I've seen is the Woodpecker shorts on YouTube. It's all Flash.
Yeah.
And it's done in Canada, but it's done by a studio that's notorious for cutting corners.
No. It's just weird, It's like if you're gonna bother remaking things,
it's the same studio that did those Popeye ones.
It's like, and then the other thing that they'll do, I don't know if you ever saw Harvey Street Kids. It was called the Harvey Girls. Or
I watched a couple of episodes.
And it's like, why even bother licensing Harvey? You just totally recreated and redesigned all the characters. You could make up your own name for it, and not pay the license
to
fee.
modern audiences, unfortunately.
Yeah. So, I try to give it a shot. I'm not such an old curmudgeon that I go, oh, it's a remake, I can't watch it, but there's so many times where, like, they'll do a new version of, say, Hawaii Five-0 or Magnum P.I. or whatever, and it'll just be a name only, and it's like, they don't have any of the charm or the characters from the old thing. Why call it that? Why not call it Detectives in Hawaii or something? You know?
To get back to the new Mickey Mouse shorts, I've seen so many people hate it on the art style and what they've done to Goofy. It's like, have you seen what Goofy looked like originally? That's his original design. Because he looked like a bum back then.
Yeah.
It's like these new shorts give Mickey a personality, something he hasn't had in, I don't know, like 60 years.
Right. Well,
he's been a cardboard box because
probably since Walt stopped voicing
Pluto was the focus.
Yeah. So
it's like, why call it a Mickey Mouse cartoon when it's about Pluto? I don't get it.
Strange. Okay, well, let's kind of wrap things up here. We talked about quite a bit of different things. So I guess the first thing I'll ask like three things here. Disney Plus, what's the best thing to watch on there now?
I would say the documentaries like Imagineering Story, One Day at Disney, the Frozen 2 one, and a new one just came out called Inside Pixar, and it's actually pretty good.
Okay. I saw those on there, and I bookmarked some of them, but I just haven't watched them yet. So
yeah, they're only 10 minutes, and they just premiered Marvel 616, and it's about different aspects of the Marvel universe. Like the first episode is about the Japanese Spider-Man show, and they interviewed a bunch of people from that show.
Cool. All right. And then on Disney Comics, I know that they're sporadic. They're on Comixology and digital and everything, but is there anything to recommend now?
I would recommend the IDW Big Hero 6 comic because those are done by a friend of mine called Nick. It's an Italian name, so I'm probably going to butcher it, but it's like Nicoletta Balderi. She has a very amazing art style. I would also recommend Dark Horse's Disney Princess comics done by Amy Meberson because those are pretty good.
I've heard good things about those. I don't read them, but I'll have to take a check at one of my local stores. And you said thumbs up to Animaniacs. Anything else worth watching now that I may or may not be doing, cartoon or otherwise?
I would recommend you checking out the Tangled cartoon and the DuckTales cartoon.
All right.
And checking out the Wonderful World of Mickey Mouse, which is the new series that's from the same creators as the last one.
Okay.
But they're 7-minute episodes now.
Oh, cool.
And they have a whole bunch of Disney references. Like the second episode is about the House of the Future from Disneyland.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And they have a visual joke of Mickey getting scared by the walk-around costumes from the 1930s of Minnie. Those really scary ones.
Right. That's cool. Okay. I will take a check on that too. All right. And if anybody wants to contact you or complain or whatever, websites or emails or Facebook pages that you want to promote?
Just Diz Kingdom, diskingdom.com, where I do my reviews, and if you want to check out Disney news, and that's about it.
Thank you for listening, and thank you, Mathieu Leblanc, for being my special guest. Episode number 99 will be coming soon. If you would like to comment and or be a guest on this podcast, please drop me a line at funideas.mark@gmail.com. Become a Patreon of Mark Arnold and Fun Ideas Productions. If everyone listening just contributed $1 a month, that would be a tremendous help in continuing the production of my books and this podcast. Also, subscribe to my YouTube channel. The opening and closing music for the Fun Ideas podcast is provided courtesy of Andrew the Slow Poisoner Goldfarb and is used with permission. This has been the Fun Ideas podcast. This is Mark Arnold speaking. This episode is copyright 2020, Fun Ideas Productions. Thank you, and good night.
Headed home to a cardboard hut with duct tape doors. At the price I'm paying, be glad it isn't yours. Now get up, Crab Mountain, get up. 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 That mountain of crab. And don't fall back. Don't fall